The stars shone brightly against the vast darkness of space. Professor Alan Carter stared at the digital readout on his console, his blue skin faintly glowing in the dim light of Lyria's last functioning observatory. After 30 years of sending signals into the void, after watching his home planet slowly fall to the Drakari forces, a response had finally come. "Professor, are you certain?" asked Ilara, his young assistant. Her voice trembled with a mix of hope and disbelief. "Could it just be background radiation?" Alan shook his head, his long fingers tracing the pattern on the screen. "No, Ilara. This is a deliberate response to our distress beacon. The pattern matches our own, but with variations that can only be intentional." He pointed to a series of peaks in the signal. "See how they mirror our mathematical sequence but add their own?" Ilara's large almond-shaped eyes widened. "Someone actually heard us." "Not just someone," Alan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "A species we've never contacted before, a planet called Earth. Outside the observatory windows, the once beautiful city of Lyris Prime lay half in ruins. The Drakari had first arrived 10 years ago, claiming the outer colonies of the Lyrian system. Unlike many other species the Drakari had conquered, the Lyrians had fought back with their limited defenses. This resistance had only angered the warlike Drakari, who were now systematically destroying Lyrian cities and enslaving the survivors. The Lyrian High Council had sent pleas to every advanced civilization they knew. The Centaurians had offered sympathy but no aid. The Galactic Alliance had sent diplomats who never returned. One by one, their allies had abandoned them, unwilling to face the Drakari's wrath. Alan hurried through the underground tunnels that connected the observatory to the council chambers, clutching his datapad to his chest. Guards nodded respectfully. As he passed, their once pristine uniforms now patched and worn. The people he passed looked thin and tired, but Alan couldn't keep the excitement from his face. "Someone has answered," he announced as he burst into the council chamber. The 7 remaining council members looked up from their discussion about food rations. "A new species from a solar system we've never explored before." Council leader Zara rose from her seat, her normally composed features showing rare surprise. "Show us, Professor." Alan connected his datapad to the central display. The signal analysis appeared above the table, along with the coordinates of its origin. "Earth," said Council Member Talon, reading the translation. "I've never heard of this planet." "That's because they're relatively new to interstellar communication," Alan explained. "Their signals have only been detectable for about 100 of their years, but they've developed quickly and their response indicates they understand our situation." "And what makes you think they would help us when the Centaurians and the Valori refused?" asked Council Member Rayla, her voice heavy with skepticism. Alan's fingers danced across the controls, bringing up an analysis of Earth's broadcast history. "I've been studying them. They're unlike any species we've encountered. Their entertainment broadcasts show a strong sense of justice and a willingness to protect those who cannot protect themselves. They value courage in the face of overwhelming odds." "Entertainment is not reality, Professor," Zara said gently. "No, but their actual history shows the same patterns. They fight for principles, and they've never encountered the Drakari. They don't fear them as others do." The council chambers fell silent as the members considered his words. After a long moment, Zara nodded. "Send them our complete situation. If they're willing to help, we'll provide them with our remaining wormhole coordinates." Across the galaxy, on the blue-green planet Earth, Commander Samantha Powell was leading her team through a training exercise in the Nevada desert. At 35, Sam was already legendary among the Navy SEALs. Her brown hair was cut short in a practical style that required little maintenance, and a thin scar ran across her left cheek, a souvenir from a mission in Yemen years earlier. "Harris, watch your left flank," she called out as one of her newer team members left himself exposed during their advance. "The enemy won't be kind enough to miss." Lieutenant Harris adjusted his position with a quick nod of acknowledgement. Sam smiled slightly. Her team was good, one of the best, but she always pushed them to be better. In a world that was increasingly unstable, the best-trained soldiers were more necessary than ever. Her comm unit buzzed. "Powell," she answered, expecting it to be base command with a weather update or schedule change. Commander Powell, this is General Mason. You and your team need to return to base immediately for emergency transport to Washington. Sam frowned. Frank Mason wasn't a man who used words like emergency lightly. Understood, sir. May I ask the nature of the situation? There was a pause on the other end. Not over this channel, Commander. All I can say is that it involves NASA, the Pentagon, and a situation unlike anything we've encountered before. 3 hours later, Sam found herself in a secure briefing room beneath the Pentagon. General Mason entered, followed by a civilian with disheveled hair and glasses who was introduced as Dr. Greg Winters, NASA's head of exobiology and communication. What I'm about to tell you is currently known to fewer than 20 people on the planet, Mason began without preamble. 12 hours ago, NASA detected an unusual signal directed specifically at Earth. Dr. Winters, please explain. The scientist stepped forward, his excitement barely contained. It's a response to our deep space transmissions, but not from any source we've been monitoring. It's from a planet called Lyria, approximately 42 light-years from Earth. He activated a display showing a beautiful blue-green world. This is Lyria as it appeared in the images they sent. And this, he switched to another image showing the same planet with large black patches, is Lyria now. Sam studied the images. What happened? They're being invaded, Commander, Dr. Winters said simply. A species called the Drakari has been systematically conquering their system. The Lyrians have been sending distress signals for decades, but apparently, no one has been willing to help them. And now they're asking us? Sam raised an eyebrow. Why? We don't even have faster-than-light travel. General Mason and Dr. Winters exchanged looks. Actually, Commander, that's not entirely accurate, Mason said carefully. The Prometheus project has been developing a prototype ship with an experimental warp drive for the past 15 years. Sam's eyes widened. A working warp drive? Like in the movies? Not exactly, Dr. Winters explained. But based on similar principles. We've been testing it in the outer solar system. It works, but we haven't attempted any jumps beyond our solar system yet. The Lyrians have provided us with something called wormhole coordinates, Mason continued. Dr. Winters believes these will allow us to make a stable jump directly to their system. Sam looked between the two men. With all due respect, sir, why am I here? This sounds like a scientific mission. General Mason's expression grew grim. The images the Lyrians sent of the Drakari make it clear this isn't a scientific expedition, Commander. These aliens are warriors, and they're slaughtering the Lyrians. If we decide to help, we'll need our best soldiers. That's why you're here. Doctor. Winters pulled up another image showing tall, muscular beings with scaled skin and predatory features. The Lyrians are scientists and artists. The Drakari are conquerors. If we go, we'll be going to fight. Sam studied the alien beings, her mind already calculating tactics and strategies. When would we leave? The USS Defiance can be ready in 3 weeks, Mason replied. You would command a team of 50, half military, half scientific personnel. And what exactly are our goals, sir? First, to establish if the Lyrians are what they claim to be, Mason said. Second, to evaluate the threat the Drakari might pose to Earth in the future. And third, if appropriate, to help the Lyrians defend themselves. Sam nodded slowly. I'll need to select my own team. Already approved, Mason confirmed. This mission is strictly voluntary, Commander. Once you hear the full briefing, you may decline. Sam's lips curved into a small, determined smile. With respect, sir, when have I ever walked away from people who needed help? As the briefing continued into the night, halfway across the galaxy, Professor Alan Carter watched his monitors with growing excitement. The Earth response was coming in stronger now, with clear indications they were mobilizing to help. They're actually coming, he told Alara, who had fallen asleep at her station. She stirred and looked up at him with tired eyes. Earth is sending warriors. Do you really think they can make a difference? She asked. The Drakari have already destroyed half our world. Alan looked at the message again. reading between the lines of the formal diplomatic language. There was a determination there, a steadfastness he hadn't seen in any of their previous appeals for help. "Yes," he said finally. "There's something different about these humans. They're coming not because we can offer them something in return, but simply because we asked for help." He smiled for the first time in years. "And that, my dear, might make all the difference." The USS Defiance hung in the black emptiness of space, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Inside the bridge, Sam Powell gripped the edge of her command chair as the ship prepared for its first interstellar jump. "Warp drive. At full power, Commander," reported Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez from the tactical station. His voice was steady, but Sam could see the nervous tension in his shoulders. "All crew secure for warp jump," Sam announced over the ship-wide comm. "Dr. Winters, are the coordinates set?" Greg Winters nodded from his station, where he had been double-checking the wormhole coordinates provided by the Lyrians. "Locked. In and verified. If the Lyrian data is accurate, we should emerge about 500,000 miles from their planet." Sam took a deep breath and looked around at the faces of her crew. They had trained together for 3 intense weeks, learning to operate the experimental ship and preparing for every possible scenario they could imagine. Now the moment of truth had arrived. "Engage warp drive," she ordered. The ship hummed as energy surged through its systems. The stars on the view screen suddenly stretched into long streaks of light. A strange pressure pushed against everyone on board, not painful, but impossible to ignore. Then came a moment of absolute stillness that seemed to last forever and no time at all. With a sudden lurch, the Defiance broke free from the warp field. The view screen showed a new starscape, dominated by a blue-green planet with patches of black scattered across its surface like bruises. "We made it," whispered Dr. Winters, checking his instruments. "That's Lyria. We're 42 light-years from Earth." Sam allowed herself a small smile of relief. "Status report? All systems functioning within normal parameters," reported Chief Engineer Paul Clark from Engineering. "The warp drive is cooling down as expected. Life support and artificial gravity stable," added Lieutenant Kelly Adams from the science station. "I'm detecting thousands of artificial satellites in orbit around the planet, plus what appear to be space stations. Some are intact, others destroyed." "Commander," Ben called urgently from tactical. "I'm detecting ships on the far side of the planet. Their energy signatures don't match any Lyrian designs in our database." Sam straightened in her chair. "Battle stations, shields up." The bridge lights dimmed to a soft red glow as the crew rushed to their combat positions. Sam had hoped for a peaceful first contact, but she had prepared her team for the possibility of immediate conflict. "Open a channel to the Lyrian Defense Forces," she ordered Communications Officer Pete Wilson. "Channel open," Wilson responded, after a moment. Sam spoke clearly, knowing her words would be the first human voice these aliens would hear. "This is Commander Samantha Powell of the Earth vessel Defiance. We've received your distress call and are here to offer assistance." For several seconds there was no response. Then a voice came through, speaking in slightly accented English. "Earth vessel, this is Professor Alan Carter of Lyria. Your arrival is unexpected but most welcome. We've transmitted landing coordinates to a secure location. Be advised that Drakari forces patrol this sector. They have already detected your arrival." Sam nodded, though the alien couldn't see her. "Understood, Professor. We'll proceed to the landing coordinates. Defiance out." She turned to Ben. "What's the status of those ships?" 3 vessels changing course heading directly toward us," Ben reported. "Based on the Lyrian data, they appear to be Drakari patrol ships. Smaller than us, but their weapons are charging. Time to intercept? 7 minutes at their current speed." Sam considered her options. They couldn't run. Their warp drive needed at least 2 hours to cool down before another jump. Fighting unknown alien vessels wasn't ideal for their first hours in this new star system, but it might be unavoidable. "Kelly, scan those ships. I want to know their capabilities, weak points, everything you can tell me." As Kelly worked furiously, at her station Sam addressed the crew. "We knew this wouldn't be easy. The Lyrians are counting on us. Let's show these Drakari what humans can do. On the planet below, Professor Alan Carter rushed through the underground bunker that now served as the Lyrian command center. He found Council Leader Zara studying a holographic display of the space around Lyria. They came, he said breathlessly. The humans actually came. Zara nodded, her expression both hopeful and concerned. Yes, but now they face Drakari patrol. Ships, their vessel is unlike anything in our records. Do you believe they can defend themselves? They must, Alan replied. Otherwise, our last hope dies with them. In space, the Defiance faced its first alien threat. The 3 Drakari ships approached in a triangular formation, their weapons fully charged. They're hailing us, Wilson reported. On screen, Sam ordered. The view screen changed to show a Drakari commander. His scaled skin was a dark green with ridges along his face that flared with anger. His yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the humans. Unknown vessel, the Drakari spoke in a harsh, guttural voice. You have entered Drakari-controlled space. Surrender your ship or be destroyed. Sam stood up, facing the alien with calm determination. This is Commander Powell of Earth. We're here at the invitation of the Lyrian people who have asked for our help. We have no quarrel with you, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. The Drakari commander laughed, a sound like grinding stones. Earth? We have never heard of your world. The Lyrians are our rightful conquest. Leave now, or share their fate. The transmission cut off abruptly. Sam turned to Ben. Target their weapon systems only. I want to disable, not destroy. Aye, Commander. Weapons locked on target. The first Drakari ship fired, a beam of energy that struck the Defiance's shields. The ship shuddered slightly, but the shields held. Shields at 92%, reported Ben. Their weapons are powerful, but not as advanced as we expected. Return fire, Sam ordered. The Defiance's laser batteries fired with precision, striking the lead Drakari ship's main weapon array. The alien vessel spun slightly from the impact. Direct hit, Ben announced. Their primary weapons are offline. The other 2 Drakari ships split formation, trying to flank the Earth vessel. Sam had anticipated this maneuver. Execute evasive pattern Delta, she called to helmsman Jack Ryan. Keep our strongest shields toward their weapons. The Defiance moved with surprising agility for its size, rolling to present its reinforced starboard shields to one attacker while firing on the other. The human crew worked with practiced efficiency, their endless drills now paying off in real combat. One of the Drakari ships exploded suddenly, caught by a direct hit to what appeared to be its power core. The other damaged vessel limped away, trailing debris. The third ship is retreating, Ben reported. They're transmitting on all frequencies. They're calling for reinforcements, Sam realized. How long until the Drakari can get more ships here? Based on Lyrian intelligence, about 3 hours, Kelly answered. Sam nodded. Then we need to be on the ground before they arrive. Set course for the landing coordinates. The Defiance streaked through Lyria's atmosphere, descending toward a mountain range where the Lyrians had established their last major stronghold. As they approached, Sam could see the devastation the Drakari had caused. Once beautiful cities lay in ruins, forests burned, and vast areas were simply gone, reduced to blackened wastelands. My God, whispered Dr. Winters as he joined Sam on the bridge. The Lyrians weren't exaggerating. The ship landed in a concealed valley, protected by advanced camouflage technology. As the engines powered down, Sam addressed her crew one final time before disembarking. We're about to meet the Lyrians face to face. Remember your training. We're here to help them, but stay alert. The Drakari know we're here now, and they'll be coming in force. Sam led the first team out of the ship, weapons ready but not raised. The valley around them was filled with strange but beautiful plant life, tall blue-green trees and flowers that seemed to glow slightly in the shadows. A group of Lyrians waited nearby. They were tall and slender, with blue skin that had a faint luminescence. Their large eyes were mostly pupil, with just a thin ring of silver around the edges. They wore simple clothing in muted colors, designed for practicality rather than show. One Lyrian stepped forward. Commander Powell, I am Professor Alan Carter, Welcome to Lyria. Sam holstered her weapon and extended her hand, then remembered the briefing on Lyrian customs and changed to a slight bow instead. Professor Carter, Earth has answered your call. Alan's eyes glistened with what Sam assumed were tears. For so long we thought no one would come. Every species we contacted either ignored us or offered empty promises. Yet you, a species we never knew existed until recently, crossed the stars to help us. That's what humans do, Sam replied simply. We help those who need it. Suddenly, an alarm sounded from the Lyrian camp. A young female Lyrian rushed toward them. Professor, Drakari dropships have been detected entering the atmosphere, at least 10 of them, heading directly for our position. Alan turned to Sam, fear evident in his expression. They found us much faster than we anticipated. We must evacuate immediately. Sam shook her head, her jaw set with determination. No. We didn't come all this way to run. It's time the Drakari learned that humans don't scare easily. She activated her comm unit. All combat teams deploy defense perimeter. Dr. Winters, get your science team working with the Lyrians on their defense systems. Today we make our stand. As her orders were swiftly carried out, Sam looked up at the sky where the first signs of the Drakari ships could be seen as fiery streaks in the atmosphere. The battle for Lyria was about to begin in earnest, and Earth's warriors were ready. The ground shook as Drakari dropships landed in the valley around the Lyrian stronghold. Sam crouched behind a rock formation, her rifle ready as she watched the enemy deploy. Beside her, Professor Alan Carter observed with wide, frightened eyes. I've never seen so many at once. Alan whispered, they must have called in forces from the entire sector. Sam checked her tactical display. Her team had set up defensive positions in a tight circle around the Defiance and the Lyrian command center. The ship's shields were still operational, providing cover for many of the defenders, but they wouldn't hold forever against a sustained attack. How many Lyrians can fight? Sam asked. Alan's expression was sad. We are not warriors, Commander Powell. We have some security forces, but most of our people are scientists, teachers, and artists. Today, everyone's a warrior, Sam replied, firmly. She activated her comm unit. Dr. Winters, what's your status? Greg's voice came through clearly. I'm with the Lyrian engineers. Commander, their technology is incredible, just misdirected. They never developed it for warfare. Can you change that quickly? Maybe. There was excitement in Greg's voice. Their energy manipulation systems could be modified into weapons. Give me 30 minutes. You have 15, Sam told him. The Drakari aren't going to wait. As if to prove her point, the first wave of Drakari troops began advancing toward their position. They were tall, muscular beings with thick, scaled skin in various shades of green and brown. They wore minimal armor, relying on their natural protection, and carried energy weapons that pulsed with an ominous red glow. All units hold fire until they're within optimal range, Sam ordered. Make every shot count. The Drakari moved with disciplined precision, clearly experienced in conquest. They spread out in attack formation, using the terrain for cover as they approached. Their confidence was apparent. They expected another easy victory against the defenseless Lyrians. They weren't expecting Earth's warriors. Now, Sam shouted when the aliens reached the marked perimeter. Human weapons fired from multiple positions. The Drakari front line fell immediately, caught by surprise at both the timing and the effectiveness of the attack. The aliens hesitated, confused by the unfamiliar resistance. A Drakari commander roared orders and the troops regrouped quickly. They returned fire, their energy weapons scorching the ground and rocks where the humans had taken cover. The battle intensified as both sides exchanged fire. Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez and his squad moved along the eastern flank, using portable shield generators to advance closer to the enemy position. Jack Ryan led another team to the west, deploying sonic disruptors that the Lyrians had quickly modified to affect Drakari inner ear balance. They've never encountered these tactics before, Alan observed, staying close to Sam as she directed the battle. The Drakari rely on overwhelming force and fear. Your people show neither hesitation nor panic. That's because we've been fighting each other for thousands of years, Sam replied grimly. We know warfare better than we know peace. The Drakari adjusted their approach, bringing up heavier weapons. A massive energy blast struck near Sam's position, sending rocks and dirt flying. She pulled Alan down just in time to avoid the debris. Commander! Greg's voice came urgently through the comm. We've done it. The Lyrians helped us modify their atmospheric research equipment into an electromagnetic pulse generator. It should disable Drakari weapons, but it will only work once before burning out. Deploy it now, Sam ordered. All human forces, switch to projectile weapons and prepare to advance. A moment later, a wave of invisible energy spread out from the Lyrian command center. The effect was immediate. The Drakari energy weapons flickered and died. Confusion spread through their ranks as commanders shouted futile orders to restore power. All units, advance, Sam commanded, rising from cover with her rifle ready. The human forces moved forward in perfect coordination, using their backup projectile weapons to devastating effect. The Drakari, suddenly finding themselves outmatched by the smaller human force, began to fall back toward their dropships. They're retreating, Alan said with disbelief. I've never seen Drakari retreat. Sam wasn't celebrating yet. They'll be back with different weapons and better tactics. We need to prepare. She turned to Alan. Take me to your council. We need to talk about next steps. Inside the Lyrian command center, the High Council watched video feeds of the battle with astonishment. When Sam entered with Alan, they rose to their feet in a gesture of respect that transcended species. Commander Powell, Council Leader Zara greeted her. You and your warriors have accomplished what we thought impossible. You have driven back the Drakari. Temporarily, Sam cautioned. This was just the first engagement. They'll adapt their tactics now that they know what we're capable of. Even so, said Council Member Talon, you've given us something we had lost. Hope. Greg Winters joined them, bringing holographic displays of Lyrian technology that he and the science team had been studying. The Lyrians have incredible knowledge of energy manipulation, gravitational fields, and biological systems, he explained. With some modifications, we can turn these peaceful technologies into effective defenses. And weapons? Asked Sam. Greg nodded. That too, though the Lyrians are hesitant. Zara stepped forward. Our civilization has avoided warfare for 10,000 years, Commander. Creating weapons goes against our deepest beliefs. I understand, Sam said sincerely, and in perfect circumstances I'd respect that choice. But these aren't perfect circumstances. The Drakari won't stop unless you can defend yourselves. Perhaps there is a middle path, suggested Alan. Defensive systems that incapacitate rather than kill. Sam considered this. We can work with that, but we also need to take the fight to them. As long as they control orbit, they control the planet. We would need ships, Talon pointed out. Our fleet was destroyed in the early days of the invasion. We have the Defiance, Sam replied. And I've been in constant communication with Earth. 3 more ships are being prepared now. They'll arrive within 2 weeks. The council members exchanged looks of surprise. Your people are sending more help? Asked Zara. Of course, Sam said simply. We don't start something we can't finish. As the meeting continued, Ben Rodriguez entered with urgent news. Commander, we've captured a Drakari officer. He was injured and left behind during their retreat. This changed everything. Where is he now? Medical bay. Dr. Adams is treating his wounds. Sam turned to the council. With your permission, I'd like to speak with him. This could give us valuable intelligence. In the medical bay, the injured Drakari lay on an examination table, his yellow eyes watching warily as Sam approached. Dr. Kelly Adams stepped away from her patient. He speaks some English, Kelly told Sam quietly. Apparently, the Drakari learn the languages of those they conquer. Sam nodded and stood before the alien. I am Commander Powell of Earth. The Drakari's voice was raspy but clear. I am Squad Leader Vrock. You fight, strangely. How so? Sam asked. You could have killed more of us, but you targeted weapons, not warriors. You disabled rather than destroyed our ships. His eyes narrowed. Why? Because we're not here to exterminate your people. We're here to stop you from exterminating the Lyrians. Vrock made a sound that might have been a laugh. The Drakari Empire spans 3 star systems. We have conquered 17 species. You are... what? 1 ship? 2? You cannot stop what has already begun. Watch us, Sam replied calmly. Humans have a long history of beating impossible odds. Before Vrock could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Sam rushed back to the command center where Greg was studying sensor readings with growing concern. Massive energy signatures in orbit, he reported. A Drakari battleship just arrived. It's at least 10 times the size of the Defiance. Sam watched the tactical display as the enormous ship moved into position above them. Can the Defiance's shields protect us from orbital bombardment? Greg shook his head. Not for long, and our weapons can't reach them in orbit. The communication system crackled, and a deep voice filled the command center. Attention, human interlopers. This is Supreme Commander Krell of the Drakari Empire. Your resistance is noted but futile. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Continue to fight, and we will reduce this entire continent to ash. Sam looked at the frightened faces of the Lyrians around her, then at her own determined crew. We need a plan to take that ship out. Anyone have any ideas? Alan stepped forward, hesitantly. Actually, Commander, I might have one. It's risky and perhaps impossible, but those are my favorite kind. Sam interrupted with a grim smile. Let's hear it. As Alan outlined his desperate plan, Sam felt a renewed sense of purpose. The real battle for Lyria was just beginning, and Earth's warriors were ready to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when fighting for a just cause. 2 months had passed since the arrival of the USS Defiance on Lyria. The single Earth ship had now been joined by 3 more, the Valiant, the Resolute, and the Intrepid. Together, they formed the core of the newly created Earth-Lyrian Defense Force. Sam stood on a hill overlooking what had once been a devastated Lyrian city. Now it bustled with activity as humans and Lyrians worked side by side to rebuild. Construction drones hummed overhead, placing prefabricated sections of buildings designed to blend Lyrian aesthetics with Earth's practical engineering. It's hard to believe how much has changed, said Professor Alan Carter, who had become Sam's trusted friend and advisor. We've made progress, Sam agreed, but the war is far from over. The plan Alan had proposed 2 months ago had worked, though not without cost. Using the Defiance as a distraction, a small team led by Sam had infiltrated the massive Drakari battleship. They had planted modified Lyrian energy disruptors throughout the vessel, temporarily disabling its systems long enough for them to capture the bridge. The victory had stunned the Drakari, who had never experienced defeat in centuries of conquest. Supreme Commander Krell still refuses to believe humans are a real threat, Alan noted. The Drakari leadership considers your victory a fluke. Let them, Sam replied. Underestimating your enemy is the fastest path to defeat. In the months since that first major victory, the tide of the war had begun to shift. The Drakari still controlled much of the Lyrian system, but they had been driven back from the main planet's major cities. More importantly, news of their defeats had spread, inspiring resistance on other conquered worlds. Sam's comm unit beeped. Commander Powell, this is Captain Lisa Hernandez. The Valiant has detected multiple Drakari vessels entering the system. It looks like they're gathering for something big. I'm on my way, Sam responded. She turned to Alan. Duty calls. In the Central Command Center, now a blend of Earth and Lyrian technology, Sam found her senior officers already gathered. The holographic display showed dozens of Drakari warships forming up near Lyria's outer moon. They've called in reinforcements from their entire empire, reported Major John Davis, who led the ground forces. Intel from our spies suggests this is their full remaining fleet. They're getting desperate, observed Greg Winters, who had become the head of the Joint Scientific Division. The rebellions on their conquered worlds are spreading. Sam studied the display. This is it then. Their final push to crush us before they lose everything. Captain Hernandez nodded. The question is, how do we stop a fleet that size? Even with our 4 ships and the Lyrian defense platforms, we're outnumbered at least 5-1. The room fell silent as everyone considered the dire odds. Then a young Lyrian scientist named Alara stepped forward. She had been Alan's assistant and had shown remarkable aptitude for adapting Lyrian technology to military applications. Commander Powell, she said hesitantly, I believe we may have a solution. Our team has been studying the data from your initial warp jump to Lyria. She activated a separate display showing complex equations and energy patterns. The warp drive creates a specific distortion in spacetime. If we could generate this effect on a larger scale precisely targeted, Greg caught on immediately, we could disrupt their entire fleet's navigation and weapon systems. How long would it take to build this device? Sam asked. We've already begun construction, Ilara admitted with a slight smile. Professor Carter believed you would approve the plan. Sam glanced at Alan, who shrugged. I've learned that humans prefer action to deliberation. The device will be ready in 12 hours, Ilara continued. But there's a complication. It must be positioned directly in the center of the Drakari fleet to be effective. A suicide mission, Major Davis said quietly. Sam thought for a moment. Not necessarily. The Defiance is the fastest ship we have. We could get in, deploy the device, and attempt to warp out before it activates. The odds of success would be approximately 23%, Ilara calculated. I've faced worse, Sam replied with a grim smile. Begin preparations immediately. I want the Defiance ready to launch in 10 hours. As the meeting dispersed, Alan followed Sam into the corridor. 23% is not good odds, Commander. No, but they're the only odds we've got. She stopped and turned to face him. Your people asked for help and we came. Whatever happens next, we won't abandon you. Alan's large eyes showed a mix of emotions. In all our history, we never encountered beings like humans. You fight with such determination, yet you remain compassionate. You should hate the Drakari for what they've done, yet you treat their prisoners with dignity. That's the paradox of humanity, Sam explained. We can be your fiercest protectors and your most dangerous enemies. It all depends on who's in need and who's causing harm. 10 hours later, the Defiance prepared to launch. The warp disruptor device, a glowing sphere of Lyrian technology enhanced with Earth engineering, was secured in the cargo bay. Sam addressed her volunteer crew from the bridge. What we're about to do will determine the fate of Lyria and possibly Earth itself. If the Drakari defeat us here, there's nothing to stop them from finding our home planet next. I won't lie to you, our chances are slim. Anyone who wishes to transfer to another ship may do so without any mark on their record. Not a single crew member moved. Lieutenant Ben Rodriguez spoke up from his station. We're with you, Commander. All the way. Sam nodded, feeling a surge of pride. Then let's show the galaxy what Earth's warriors can do. Launch in 5 minutes. On the surface below, Lyrians gathered to watch the Defiance rise into the sky. Among them, Professor Alan Carter and Alara stood with the members of the High Council. Well, Kier, it work? Council Leader Zara asked quietly. If anyone can succeed, it's Commander Powell, Alan answered. She has something the Drakari don't understand, something we had forgotten until Earth reminded us. What is that? Asked Alara. Hope, Alan said simply. The unwavering belief that against all odds, good can triumph over evil if you're willing to fight for it. In space, the Defiance accelerated toward the massive Drakari fleet. The enemy ships, detecting the approaching vessel, began to break formation to intercept. They've spotted us, Ben reported. Multiple weapon signatures powering up. Evasive maneuvers, Sam ordered. All power to forward shields. The Defiance danced through space, dodging energy beams and missiles as it drove deeper into the heart of the enemy fleet. Occasionally, a hit would connect, shaking the ship violently. Shields at 60%, called Engineer Paul Clark from his station. We can't take much more of this. Stay on course, Sam commanded. her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The center of the Drakari formation was just ahead. Prepare. To deploy the disruptor on my mark. A massive blast rocked the ship, sending sparks flying from several consoles. Port shields down, Ben shouted. Hull breach on deck 3, emergency containment holding. Almost there, Sam muttered, her hands gripping her chair arms tightly. Just a little farther. The Defiance burst through the final line of Drakari ships, reaching the precise spot Alara had calculated. Now, Sam ordered. Deploy the disruptor and engage warp drive immediately. The glowing sphere ejected from the ship's cargo bay, hovering for a moment in space before beginning to pulse with increasing intensity. The Defiance's engines flared as it attempted to jump to warp. Nothing happened. Warp drive not responding, Paul reported, his voice tense. The damage must have affected the main power couplings. Sam made a split-second decision. All hands. Abandon ship! Get to the escape pods! As her crew rushed to evacuate, Sam stayed on the bridge, manually adjusting the disruptor's final settings via remote link. She knew someone needed to ensure it activated properly, and as commander, that responsibility fell to her. The disruptor's pulsing grew more rapid as it approached critical mass. Around it, the Drakari ships began to close in, unaware of what was about to happen. Sam's fingers flew over the controls, completing the final sequence. As the last escape pod launched from the Defiance, she allowed herself a small smile. For Earth, for Lyria, for everyone who stands against tyrants. The disruptor activated, releasing a massive wave of energy that spread through the Drakari fleet. Ships tumbled out of control as their systems failed catastrophically. Weapons deactivated, engines shut down, and life support systems flickered. In a matter of minutes, the mighty armada was reduced to powerless hulks drifting in space. From the surface of Lyria, the spectacle was visible as strange flashes of light among the stars. No one knew exactly what had happened until the first escape pods began landing, carrying the surviving crew of the Defiance. Ben Rodriguez, his face streaked with soot and tears, delivered the news to Alan and the Council. It worked. The entire Drakari fleet is disabled. But Commander Powell, she stayed behind to make sure the disruptor activated properly. A stunned silence fell over the gathering. Then, impossibly, a communication came through on the emergency channel. "This is Powell," came Sam's weak but unmistakable voice. "Requesting pickup. My escape pod's navigation is damaged. I'm drifting near the Drakari flagship, and you won't believe who I found trying to flee in a personal shuttle. Supreme Commander Krell himself." 3 days later, Sam stood before a joint assembly of the Lyrian High Council and Earth's military leaders, who had traveled to Lyria to witness the formal surrender of the Drakari Empire. Supreme Commander Krell, his proud bearing now diminished, signed the document that would free all conquered worlds and restrict Drakari ships from leaving their home system for 100 years. "You have defeated what no one else could," Krell said bitterly to Sam. "How is this possible? You are just one planet, one species." Sam glanced at the humans and Lyrians standing together, once strangers and now allies. "Because we don't fight for conquest or power. We fight for each other. That makes all the difference." As the assembly dispersed, Professor Allen approached Sam with a crystal containing the complete history of Lyria. "For thousands of years we believed we were alone in our compassion, alone in our desire for peace. We thought no one would come to our aid." Sam accepted the gift with a nod. "And now you know. As long as Earth stands, no plea for help will go unanswered again." The news of Earth's victory spread quickly across the galaxy. Other worlds, hearing of this newcomer species that had defeated the mighty Drakari, began sending messages of their own, some seeking alliances, others offering trade, many simply curious about these strange beings called humans. In response, Earth established its first interstellar embassy on Lyria. And among the stars, a new saying began to circulate among those who faced tyranny or disaster. "Call Earth, they will come."